Next item is the adoption of the resolution regarding the Virginia Department of Taxation and Revenue Sharing Program. That's from Mr. Stanley.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in your packet is a copy of the information that was presented at the last meeting. The board tabled action at the January 7, 2020 meeting to allow for further discussion. The board's work session on January 14th. The work session concerns were raised about the county's commitment of its share of funding given the anticipated budget concerns. Staff was asked to reach out to VDOT to ascertain the timing for making a decision and the status of projects if the board decided not to approve the resolution and move forward at this time. Mr. Childress has reached out to Mr. Carter. I'll let him come up in a second and address that. In addition, staff has outlined the required funding for the remaining projects. The county's Rockland Road project share was paid back in October of 2019. As the spreadsheet in your packet shows, the county's share of the remaining projects is $753,312.50. The county currently has $411,220 in special projects set aside for revenue sharing projects. In addition, we anticipate having approximately $100,000 left over in the current budget. And I say approximately because we're still in the process of closing out 3 previously constructed projects from this last construction season. To complete payment of the remaining share of the projects would require less than the $250,000 moving forward. As mentioned, the work session, the county historically has budgeted about $250,000 per year. I know that was one of the concerns raised. That amount could be reduced to about $75,000 for each of the next 4 years and still be enough to cover the projects identified in the draft resolution. Mr. Childress has also provided a memo outlining the availability of the funding for the Shenandoah Farm Sanitary District. Based on the cover sheet, the Shenandoah Farm shares approximately $703,000. They've got about $573, $194.90 currently set aside in the special projects. They've got $40,000 programmed in the current fiscal year budget, and which would give us a total of about $613. And they also anticipate applying any leftover funds as well towards the project share. Obviously, these projects would not be constructed in the next year, probably next 2 years. It would be the next 3 or 4 years. So that's always the chance you could have a project go over or under budget, and you'd have to make whatever necessary adjustments there before moving on to the next one. Bob, I don't know if you want to come up and talk about, I know you reached out to Mr. Carter, reference the questions about what if, what kind of timing we're under to move forward.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Stanley. Chairman, members of the board, one of the questions that was raised at the work session was there a time limit on the resolution? And I did ask Mr. Carter that question last Wednesday morning after the work session. He was looking into it. I touched base with him again this morning. He hadn't got an answer on that yet. So still waiting that answer from VDOT what the time limit is on the resolution. One of the other questions last week, and Ms. Collard, you brought that up, was that you said you had spoke to Mr. Carter and about postponing the projects. Talked to Mr. Carter about that as well. I believe there were some miscommunications between you and he. I shared that with you on the phone. I think last Wednesday we talked. He recalled the discussion when you asked could the projects be delayed. His response was something to the effect we could stop the projects, thinking that the county is the applicant for any revenue sharing project. Being the applicant, we can stop it at any time we want, but in a sense what that means is we're killing it or we're canceling the project. So any money that has been expended on a project that we or you all decide to delay or cancel, then we assume that 100% cost of the revenue sharing is off the table at that point.
And that can't come back at all.
It could. We could reapply. VDOT has a 2-year or biannual application process. that we could reapply for that same project. We would also compete against hundreds, if not thousands, of other revenue sharing projects across the state. I know that in the years I've been with the county and applying for VDOT regular projects or revenue sharing projects, it seems like each application cycle, the criteria to be successful gets tougher and tougher to apply for those limited funds. So while we can apply down the road, there's no guarantee that the project will be approved and funding granted by VDOT down the road.
What is our drop dead date?
Again, I don't know that. Mr. Carter has not been able to give me that date. I spoke to him again this morning.
Do you anticipate an answer in the by February 4th?
I would certainly hope so. He said he was going to make some additional calls this morning.
So my question is, if this was something that we were supposed to agree to moving these roads forward, how many of them, my understanding would be, besides going out looking at them, seeing if they met the criteria for each rural addition, rural rustic, whatever, that just puts them on the list. So you're telling me money has already been spent on all of these roads to get them?
No, not all of them.
Okay.
Not all of them, ma'am. Just going down the list, I know there's been some limited funding spent on Old Oak Lane, or Phase 4. That's a rural addition project at Channel Farms. I know Rockland Road, that's a VDOT administered project. VDOT is actively spending funds to perform preliminary engineering and surveying and environmental testing on that one. Hawthorne Mill Road is another rural rustic project in the secondary 6-year plan, which VDOT administers that plan and those projects. So it's very likely that VDOT has spent funding on that. I can't answer that for sure, but that's a VDOT administered project. But the other rural additions, Blue Valley Road, no. Old Oak Lane Phase 5, no. And Young's Drive Phase 2, no. Those are county administered projects which I will take care of, and I haven't spent any funds on those yet.
Okay, because I don't want to touch, and I don't want us to lose money, and I want everybody to understand here, I am not anti-road improvement, but what I'm looking at is where we are in the budget, and if the first thing you start off with in the very first meeting is putting through roads and saying that we're going to delegate this money, then it's done. You can't touch that money if you come up to budget time and you've got a shortfall. And every year it's the same thing. You got to cut services, the knee-jerk ones, schools, you know, all the DSS, all those. I don't want to get there because I would much rather live on a dirt road another year than raise taxes or poor service. So there's why, you know, I'm hoping when we get down the road that we can put all these and pass it all through. But at this point, the one I feel comfortable doing is Rockland Road. That's a grant. I'm not touching that. I haven't lost my mind entirely here. But the rest of them that we don't have money, and I would like to hold until we get a point in the budget where we know that we don't have a huge shortfall. Because I feel like we've been kind of set up with everything to have a huge tax increase. And I do not want to do that. If we can pull things like roads and hold them off, walking paths, you know, any of that kind of stuff. And that stuff, I didn't hear anything called that it was put on hold or let's wait on it last year. Those are things I personally think can wait over, well, we're going to have to cut social services, how much we give, and so there's where I'm at. And that's, you know, that's what I need to know, what we can hold off to once we get that deadline, and it sounds like that might be out there a little while, and we may be at a point in the budget where I feel totally comfortable passing every one of these through.
that would be the question. I don't know about anybody else, but I would not like to vote on it until we know what Mr. Carter says. If it's gonna be 6 months from now, it's our deadline, and we get through our budget cycle, and we have the opportunity to put it all together for Mr. Carter and for the Shenandoah Farms and the community, that's when we should do it. And I hope that the community will understand how we're looking at the budget.
Question. By delaying this, would this endanger the actual funding that VDOT would contribute or impact the roads as presented?
Delaying it indefinitely because at some point in time, VDOT is going to take that we're going to cancel the projects.
So there is a danger.
Yeah,
Of losing
and that's where the question comes in, Mr.
What's that
Fox.
due date?
Of what's that drop dead date? So we can actually, if we're gonna lose it and we need to get it done and we've spent money on it, we should do it. But if it's not gonna hurt us and we've got the time to go through the budget cycle, then we should at least go through the budget cycle so we know where we are financially. Because I'm not sure that we do. And Mr. Stanley may be able to help me on that, but I'm not sure that we know exactly what we've got coming in to be able to cover all of the needs that the county wants on top of the services that we're going to have to provide. And we're going to have to provide a lot.
So I put a motion there, postpone till adoption of the budget, but I'd much rather say, like we did before, if you could postpone to the 2/4 meeting, hopefully get an answer from, Mr. Carter may say, hey, you need an answer by June 30, then we can
Then we've got
postpone
time
that
to
till
go
after
through
the
it.
budget season, or maybe it's April 1, whatever would give us, we'd know what the time frame would be.
I'm very comfortable making a motion to approve the Rockland Road Build Grant Smart Scale project of $710,000 to provide a grade separated crossing at Route 658 Rockland Road, and to postpone consideration on the other revenue sharing projects until projected budget is more clear and we have a designated due date from VDOT.
So we've actually, back in October, made the payment, we had to make the payment to keep the schedule for the design of the bridge at Rockland. So Rockland basically out the door and gone. We've already paid the money. So really, I think it would be just postponing until the second part of your motion.
It was on here, so I thought that was
Yep.
part of what we needed.
And the reason it was on there, Mr. Carter, VDOT was asking for a resolution for the last 2 fiscal years of projects they had approved. That's the only reason it was on this.
Question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, is this the priority list as VDOT sees it as well as the county?
Well, those projects you see listed are a combination. They're not only rural additions, but they're also secondary 6-year plan projects and the Rockland Road project. So the board has a hand in establishing the priorities. You all have a standing rural addition priority list that the previous board adopted back in the fall of 2017. So the roads you see on this resolution list are directly from your all's rural addition priority list. Cawthorn Mill Road happens to be a priority secondary 6-year plan project that you all provided input to Mr. Carter last year, like you do each year when you set the priorities with the secondary 6-year plan. So yes, it's a combination of the priorities you all set in conjunction with VDOT or when you establish a rural addition priority list.
Contingent on, say in the case of Shenandoah Farms, them having the finances to go forward.
And these projects in Shenandoah Farms, for example, are directly out of their capital improvement list, which basically mirrors the county's rural addition priority list.
So the question still stands. What is our drop dead date for Mr. Carter?
We'll have to get an answer from you.
And we need to know that by February 4th.
I feel certain we'll have that answer.
And just to be clear, our remaining share of this is $750,000, $750,000.
Correct.
Okay.
I guess I will make a motion to postpone this until the February 4th board meeting.
Second,
I'll second it.
all those approved?
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved to put it out until February 4th.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to ask Mr. Childers a question?
Not at all.
I was reviewing VDOT's things on online the other day, and they said that each community should have, a county should have a road committee. I'm sure we have one. Who's on that road committee?
That is a committee established for this board. Basically, each time we do a rural addition review. And those reviews are done approximately every 5 years.
Okay, so we are the committee then.
Well, you all appoint, if there's any interest, in years past, you all have appointed representatives from the individual magisterial districts to go review the potential rural additions. About every 5 years, the county puts out a call for potential applications from sanitary districts, private subdivisions, to participate in the rural addition program. Over the course of a couple months, we'll get that list of potential roads in. During the same period of time, the board can elect to appoint a list of road reviewers. That typically, myself, a member of VDOT, will go out and look at these potential candidates to see whether or not they qualify for rural addition funding, whether or not you could build them to meet VDOT standards. Some of them might be too steep, some of them might be too new, too curvy, etc. May not have enough homes on to qualify. So the road reviewers, myself, the VDOT representatives, will develop a proposed list of priorities based on a number of criteria, number of homes, problems with maintenance, cost, width, grade. We'll present that list to you all for consideration, and then that's the information you all use to set and finalize your list of rural addition priorities.
So the
That's it
person
in a
that we
nutshell.
pick from each of our districts will go with you and VDOT to do that? Okay.
Now, sometimes there's not a representative from each district because simply there's not any interest expressed.
When,
Have any projects in that?
That's correct. That's correct.
And that's the thing too, that I think VDOT has different pots of money for different things. And then one of them, I believe, is a guardrail fund.
Maintenance.
Maintenance, well, I'm talking about places where it needs it. That's something too to be aware of. If you should have places in your district or anywhere that you think maybe a guardrail would be a good safety feature, you can pass that on to Mr. Childers, and then, you know, he can talk to VDOT and put it on that list, because I've done that before.
okay, well, and I have no problem doing that, because goodness knows I ride the roads to check them. But my thought is, if we're supposed to have a committee, and I'm supposed to have a representative from my area, I'd like to have that to get somebody, other than just my thoughts on things, to ride with you. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I just think it would be a good thing to do. And I saw that on their specs, so I thought that was a question I would ask.
And again, it's not a standing committee, it's just a committee appointed whenever this board wants to take a look at the rural addition priority list. To redo it, there's additional additions to it.
And just because there's no projects in my area right now, doesn't mean I don't want to get some. If we can afford them.
I think that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.